Okay, let's continue the Positivist School of Criminology or the Italian School of Criminology na banggit na natin to ng in passing last time. Ituloy lang natin. So, there are three proponents for the positivist theory. They are Cesar Lombroso, Enrico Ferry, and Rafael Garofalo. Mapapansin nyo na katulad yan ng ibang pangalan ng mga sections ng first year natin. So, dyan namin sila na-derive. So, they were the primary personalities in the positivist school of thought, and they were also known as the Holy Three of Criminology. Yang tatlong yan, si Lombroso, si Ferry, at si Garofalo, considered na Holy Three ng Criminology. Okay. So, ano ba ang ginawa nila? So, Cesar Lombroso was an Italian university professor and criminologist. He became popular for his studies and theories in the field of characterology, or the relation between mental and physical characteristics of a person. If you can remember last time, nabanggit natin na ang positivist school of criminology ay ang pinakaunang theory na ginamit ang science in order to explain criminal behavior. Kaya nga, sabi din dito, kaya siya naging sikat dahil pinakita niya kung ano ang relationship ng mental at physical characteristics ng isang tao. Na kapag ganito ang tenga ng isang tao, ganito ang mental characteristics niya. Na kapag pango o matangos ang ilong ng isang tao, ganito ang certain characteristics niya or ang mental characteristics niya. Kaya, kumbaga, kung ano yung itsura mo, may katapat kang personality or may katapat kang mental characteristic. Another, he is the founder of the Positivist School of Thought. So, kahit na may tatlo sila dyan, yung Holy Three, siya ang pinaka-founder, siya ang pinaka-madaming na-contribute sa School of Thought or sa theory na ito. He is considered the father of modern criminology. Bakit modern criminology? Kasi nga, he was the first one to use science in order to interpret the criminal behavior. If you can remember, si Cesar Beccaria, sa classical theory, he is considered the father of criminology. Okay? Father of criminology, father of classical criminology, lahat yon ay si Cesar Beccaria. Si Cesar Lombroso naman, father of modern criminology. Modern kasi nga, because of the methods he used science in order to interpret or explain criminal behavior. He believed that atavistic criminal to be a biological throwback to an earlier stage of evolution, since inborn delinquency was not natural to contemporary mankind but peculiar to primitive races. Kung maalala nyo rin, yung term na atavist, ito yung taong hindi nag-evolve. At dahil hindi siya nag-evolve, may nanatiling animalistic traits sa kanya, at yung animalistic traits na yon ay ang paggawa ng krimen. At ito ay inborn. Pagkapanganak pa lang, alam na ang tadhana mo. Ay, ito, pangit. Kriminal to paglaki. Ganun ang interpretation ng atavism principle. Okay? He also wrote an essay entitled Crime, Its Causes and Remedies. So, Lombroso classified criminals. So, merong born criminal. Ito yung mga atavist, yung pinanganak pa lang dahil may taglay silang physical characteristics na medyo primitive ang dating. Kaya, nasabi niyang hindi nag-evolve tong taong to kasi may mga physical characteristics siya na primitive eh. Kaya ito, criminal. Born criminal siya. Okay? Insane criminal. criminaloid, occasional criminal, pseudo-criminal, and criminal by passion. We will discuss that in detail later on. Okay. Next, we have Enrico Ferry, another one of the holy three of criminology. He was also an Italian criminologist and socialist. He became one of the founders of the positivist school of thought, but more focused on psychological and social positivism. Si Lombroso kasi nag-focus siya doon sa physical characteristics ng tao at yung mental state nila. Pero etong si Ferry, psychological and social positivism. As opposed to the biological positivism of Lombroso, he was also instrumental in formulating the concept of social defense as a justification for punishment. Kumbaga, kailangan daw magkaroon ng punishment para sa mga lumalabag sa mga batas, lumalabag sa mga norms, dahil ito ay depensa ng society. Para maprotektahan ang sarili niya, kailangan parusahan yung nakagawa ng hindi tama. So, classification of criminals by Ferry, meron din siyang sarili niyang version. Born or instinctive criminal, the insane criminal, the passionate criminal, the occasional criminal, and the habitual criminal. We also have Rafael Garofalo. Pag sinabing Holy Three, hindi rin pwedeng wala itong si Garofalo. He was also born in, of course, Italy. Kaya nga to, Italian School of Criminology, di ba? Dahil lahat silang founders ay galing sa Italy. So, born of Italian nobility in Naples. He was magistrate and professor of law and was Lombroso's student. So, kumbaga, sa panahon natin, siya ay teacher or professor siya sa law school at isa siyang nagtatrabaho sa criminal justice system. Most likely, he is a lawyer. He was a lawyer. Patay na siya. At estudyante siya ni Lombroso. Yun. So he traced the roots of criminal behavior not to physical features but to their psychological equivalents, which he called moral anomalies. Okay, yun yung tawag niya na hindi yung itsura ng tao ang nagsasabi kung anong klaseng kriminal siya. Pero meron siyang ibinigay na tawag para sa psychological equivalents nun. Yun nga yung mga moral anomalies. He believed that the true criminal is abnormal and lacks a proper development of altruistic sensibilities. The lack of deficiency is not simply the product of circumstance or environmental conditioning, but has an organic basis. He believed that his moral anomaly was hereditarily transmissible, na ipapasa daw yung mga moral anomaly na na-discover niya. So, from generation to generation, natatanggap nila yon. And establish an unimpeachable evidence. Ang types naman ng criminals, according to Garofalo, are murderers, violent criminals, deficient criminals, and lascivious criminals. In the early 20th century, this is the period of psychological criminology and the rise of sociological perspectives on crimes and criminals. So, nag-merge na. Kumbaga, nagpapakilala na ang psychology sa criminology field. Although nauna ang psychology, ha? Kumbaga, yung pagpapaliwanag ng mga bagay-bagay related to criminology, we now use psychological ways during the early 20th century. This era was a shift of the blame for crimes on human behavior and the social and environmental circumstances. We have Sigmund Freud. I think we've already discussed Sigmund Freud. He was an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist. He founded the psychoanalytic school of psychology, or he is also known as the father of psychoanalysis. Elements of personality, according to him, are the id, ego, and super ego. Yung id ay ang personality na yung nabanggit natin, ito yung spoiled. Kasi kung ano yung gusto niya, kailangan magawa mo. Kung gutom ka, kahit wala kang pera, magnanakaw ka para makakain ka. Yun, yung id. Pag, parang ito yung bunsong kapatid mo na spoiled. Pag sinabi namang ego, ito yung nagbabalance between the id and the superego. This is the reality principle. Siya yung responsible for living in the moment. Alam niya yung mga nangyayari, ano yung mga dapat at hindi dapat gawin. And the superego is the conscience principle. He is the one, or it is the one responsible weighing whether an act is moral or immoral. Okay. Another one is David Emil Durkheim. He was a French sociologist. He was famous for his work on the anomie theory. Meron din tayong section na underneath Durkheim. He saw crime as being able to release certain social tensions and so have a cleansing or purging effect in society. We also have Robert Ezra Park. He was an American sociologist and he was best known for his work Human Ecology Theory. Next, we have Edwin Sutherland. He was an American sociologist. He was best known for his work Differential Association Theory and for defining white-collar crimes. Later on, I think we've discussed this, di ba? White-collar crimes, ito yung mga nakagagawa ng mga krimen gawa ng kanilang trabaho. Kung ako ay isang CEO ng isang company at hindi ko binabayaran ng tama yung mga trabahador ko, then I am committing a white-collar crime. Because I can only do that crime because of my position in the company. Kung hindi naman ako CEO, then I cannot do that. Okay, yun yung white-collar crimes. He also rejected biological determinism and the extreme individualism of psychiatry, as well as economic explanations of crime. We also have Ernest Burgess. He was an American sociologist and he was the author of social disorganization theory, and he worked with Park in the concentric zone theory. Next, we have Ernest Kretschmer. Familiar kayo dito. Siya yung gumawa ng somatotyping theory. Na kapag mataba ka, ikaw ay malamang jolly, outgoing ka, at ang mga krimen na ginagawa mo ay yung mga nag-i-involve ng pananalita at hindi nag-i-involve ng physical activities. Kapag payat ka, malamang snatcher. Kapag maskulado ka, violent crimes. Okay? So, ito yun, no? Yung three principal types of physique according to him: asthenic, athletic, and picnic. Asthenic, ito yung payat. Athletic, ito yung maskulado. And then yung picnic, ito yung chubby-chubby. Next, the 20th. Also in the 20th century, Ernest Albert Hutton was a physical anthropologist. He was known for his work, Criminal Physical Inferiority Theory. William Herbert Sheldon naman was also an American psychologist who was best known for his theory associating physique, personality, and crime or delinquency, known as the somatotyping theory. It's basically the same with Ernest Kretschmer. Iba lang yung tawag niya. Ano yung tawag niya? Endomorph para doon sa mga chubby. Picnic doon sa kabila. Mesomorph para doon sa mga maskulado. Athletic doon sa kabila. And then ectomorph, ito naman yung asthenic doon sa kabila, yung mga payat. We also have Walter K. Reckless. He was an American sociologist and criminologist. He was popularly known for his containment theory of delinquency in his juvenile delinquency. Don't worry na itong mga theories na binabanggit namin ay mabilis lang dahil may separate subject nga kayo na kung saan pag-aaralan nyo yan isa-isa. Kaya in passing lang tayo. Late 20th century, these are the contemporary pioneers. Robert King Merton. He was an American sociologist and advocated the strain theory. Albert Cohen, may ganito din tayong section. He published Delinquent Boys, The Culture of the Gangs. And he also created or authored the subculture theory of delinquency. Next, we have Gresham Sykes. So he advocated the neutralization theory. Lloyd Olin was responsible for creating the differential opportunity theory. Earl Richard Quinney is responsible for creating the instrumentalist theory. Travis Hershey is the author of the social control theory. Robert Agnew is the author of the general strain theory. Howard Becker for labeling theory. Then Karl Marx is the author of the social class conflict and capitalism theory. Charles Darwin, the theory of evolution. Yung hindi na ang sinasabi dito na ang alamat daw ng tao ay unggoy daw tayong lahat nung una din. Habang tumatagal ay nag-evolve and then naging tao na. Okay. Although his theory was already disputed. Charles Goring, the most important achievement was the English Convict, a Statistical Study. And Adolf Quetelet, yung section ninyo, was a Belgian statistician. He pioneered cartography and the cartographical school of criminology. It was also in his theory na sinabi niya kapag malamig, ang mga crimes na ginagawa ng tao ay crimes against property kasi ang tao ay tulog. Therefore, hindi sila alerto. At kapag hindi alerto ang tao, madali silang nakawan. Kapag mainit naman ng panahon, ang majority daw ng cases na nagagawa ng tao ay crimes against person, murder, rape, physical injuries. Dahil mainit ang panahon, mainit din ang ulo ng tao. Yun yung sinasabi ni Quetelet. Okay, and that is for Module 4. Do you have any questions?
Wala po, Miss.